Hey, this is Gary at Video Guys coming to you from my office today, but we got hit by a big snowstorm. So because of the snowstorm, we're unable to produce today's live show. But you know, it's very important that if you have a show on a regular schedule, that you make sure you hit those scheduled dates, because you don't want to lose your audience by missing even a week. If you've got 10 or 6 or 50 or 100 people tuning in, you want there to be a show. So what I've gotten together with Oliver and our video team are going to put together kind of a best of clips show. Think of it like, you know, what comes on in a baseball game during a rain delay. And what we decided we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the most, and we've done a lot of clips on integrating Zoom or Teams and making your productions better and how to integrate them into a production world and how to do a better job than what's out there. So that's what today's clip show is going to be. So Oliver, why don't you take it away and start rolling some of those clips?
Thanks, Gary. One of the first questions we want to answer is, what can I achieve using Zoom? In the following clip, we tell you why Zoom is a popular tool of choice and show you how to use one of the most popular features in live streaming with Zoom, that being bringing guests into your live stream using Zoom. We also address some of the general concerns and best practices for using Zoom, especially when live streaming. Let's take a look.
Zoom has emerged as the teleconferencing tool of choice during the shutdown. And by that, we mean schools, colleges, churches, not-for-profits, corporate businesses. You need to learn how to integrate Zoom into your live stream to maintain high-quality communication. That falls into two different things. One is sharing your Zoom meeting over a public CDN like Facebook or YouTube. And we're actually going to demonstrate that later in today's show, a webinar. And the other is people want to be able to bring their high-quality, high-produced content into their Zoom conference. So, you know, we understand that time is of the essence, and this is important than ever. So let's dive right into the show. Bringing Zoom conferencing into your production system with Zoom. Drum roll, please. And let's bring in our team. I'm going to hold this spot, which is our team, while we get this ready. If we go to the next slide. And then we're going to, actually, I think what Adam's doing is setting up the show. But what he's going to do is he's going to bring in our team via Zoom. You've got our team here now on the show. So I'm going to introduce each person. They're going to tell you a little about themselves, what their function is, as if we were having a, hey, meet the Video Guys team. So first, let's start with Jim. Jim, what do you do over at Video Guys?
Hey, Gary, I'm at Extension 1110. I am the head of marketing and sales. Happy to help out our customers. With more than 20 years experience in this industry, I'm sure I can help answer a lot of questions and find the right equipment they need.
Awesome. Jen, tell us about your role at Video Guys.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm at Extension 1117. I work with Jim on the marketing team. I post a lot of info to our site and blog, so I am here to help you find the product you need.
Cool. Oliver, tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, I'm Oliver. I work with Adam every week to produce the Videoguys Live Webinar, and we use all the products that we sell. I know a lot about them, and you can definitely give me a call to discuss which products you might need and what might work for you at Extension 1111.
Cool. So Adam, two parts for you. First, tell us about yourself and what you do at Video Guys.
Hi, I'm Adam. My extension is 1119. I work very closely with Oliver to bring you guys the show. And this week we are bringing in Gary via Rendezvous, and we're bringing in our sales team here via Zoom. And we're bringing that right into Wirecast, and again, I'm doing that from my home, so completely remote.
You're doing it from your living room, literally. So this is a remote broadcast with Zoom, with a remote guest. I'm the remote guest to my own show this time. Guys, I want to thank you very much. Jim, any closing words for everyone?
No, just that Gary, I give you a lot of props for continuing to do the show. We are 5 different people in 5 different locations, and if ever there is a message that says the show must go on, this is proof of it.
Now, the reality is the folks at Zoom have gotten a little bit of grief because while they developed this great platform, they never foresaw it becoming so in demand so quickly. And there are some security and privacy concerns with Zoom that I just want to share all of these to make sure our overview of Zoom. Number one is do not use your personal meeting ID when you have your own Zoom. You can set up another ID, use a specific ID for that Zoom, not your personal one. Select a unique password every time you schedule a new meeting. Now, if you have a group of friends, you can use the same password when you get back to them. But if you're Zooming with different friends, give out different passwords for each Zoom. most important one, and this one drives me crazy, folks, but never post your meeting ID or password to social media. Invite your guests directly via email or text message. You can put something on social media saying you're doing a Zoom, but have people private message you, inbox you for the instructions on how to get into that meeting. Or if you have a closed group on Facebook, that's different. But don't put that information out to the public at large. Use the waiting room feature. That way people have to wait for you, the person who's running the meeting, to allow them into the meeting. Do not allow screen sharing. Lock the meeting. Remove unwanted participants by using the participant menu and mute participants if necessary. So that's the little rundown.
Moving on to our second clip. One of the most popular questions that we get is, what gear can I use with Zoom? In the following clip, I have Paul Richards from PTZ Optics telling us how you can integrate PTZ cameras, and specifically PTZ camera control, into your Zoom workflow and how it benefits you.
You being PTZ Optics, you guys can actually be controlled from Zoom. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, this is a really great integration because it allows for churches and different places, anyone really, to give remote pan-tilt zoom control through Zoom to anyone in the world. So think about having a PTZ Optics camera in your church, and there's no one in the church except for a few people. You can now give remote camera control to a worship leader who can take control of that camera. It was originally designed by Zoom for all kinds of video communication applications. For example, telemedicine. What if a doctor needs to zoom in to the person and see, a specific area of interest? Yep. It's also important in video communications and in conference rooms. It also is, there's two sides of this, Gary. One is the far end camera control, and the other is actually integration with the Zoom rooms, which is in-room camera control. So we support both of those opportunities inside of Zoom. It's been incredible, and the HuddleCam HD Pro is Zoom certified, and we're having a whole new line of integrations coming with Zoom that's going to be announced as well, coming up soon.
Broken all that, but the truth of the matter is most Zoom meetings at this point, we're just, our eyes are glazing over, and one of the things that you need to do is put something like a PTZ camera in the room. So if you're dealing with a conference room, you can go to the different people in the room. It's not just 5 people waving at different focal points, in the room. The ability to give someone else control of the camera, like if you were doing a training or something, let's say in a factory setting or worship, hey, I want to go from the preacher to the choir or someone else who's talking. I just think that once again, engagement, it's what's so important, and a PTZ camera, it allows you to make your video more engaging, and PTZ Optics allows you to integrate with Zoom, Wirecast, NDI, OBS, vMix to make that an even more engaging, better quality.
Another really important thing to note about Zoom is it's not just great for bringing a live guest into your live stream. You can also use a multi-camera switcher to bring the power of your live stream into your Zoom call to better engage your guests. I have 2 clips that are coming up. One is showing you how to use a software switcher encoder like Wirecast with Jeremy Klusterman from Telestream. And another is using a hardware encoder like the YoloLiv YoloBox to bring in picture-in-picture, lower thirds, and multiple cameras to your Zoom call.
And then going back out to Zoom, you will have to have Zoom installed or running on your Wirecast system. And then you activate the webcam, the virtual webcam feature in Wirecast, which is that's in the output settings of Wirecast. You activate the virtual webcam. The first time you do it, you're going to have to install the drivers. So don't try and do this, 5 minutes before a show. Do your testing because it will have you restart your computer. But the virtual camera output of Wirecast then can feed into Zoom just like it were a webcam attached to your Zoom session. So just like you're able to choose your PTZ Optics webcam or your Logitech webcam in Zoom or your iSight from a MacBook Pro, you'll see Wirecast virtual camera as a source into Zoom, and that takes the production output of Wirecast as a camera feed going out to all the Zoom participants.
You'll see that I have multiple cameras in my YoloBox right now.
So if I'm a teacher at a school, maybe I have a camera pointed at me, and I'll pop that up really quick. So I have this camera pointed at me. I'm teaching, maybe I have my blackboard in the background. But let's say I also have, maybe I'm a science teacher, and I have a lab or a demonstration in front of me. Well, I can bring in another camera with HDMI. And what if I want my students to be able to see me, but also be able to see my notes? Well, I'm gonna create a picture-in-picture video. Pull it up right here, and here's what it looks like. Say you're a teacher and you're streaming out to Zoom or Google Meets or Microsoft Teams. You wanna bring that whole picture in from your YoloBox. Well, YoloBox does have a really great HDMI out. So we started in our diagram here. You have a teacher who has a USB either webcam or PTZ camera. That's going to depend entirely on your budget. We've selected the Panasonic UE4, but any USB webcam ranging from any price will be great with the YoloBox. You can hook that up to your YoloBox via USB, and at the same time, you can bring in an HDMI feed of your class's notes, so a PowerPoint or any online presentation that you might have, and you can mix that right on your YoloBox. Then you're gonna feed the YoloBox feed from the HDMI out port into your laptop. And then from your laptop, you can import that into Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meets. Another great tip we've run into with Zoom is that while you can stream directly from your Zoom call, sometimes it's better to take an external encoder like the LiveView Solo and use that to stream your call and take the pressure off of your computer. Let's take a look at that workflow.
One of the things that we really fallen in love with is the LiveView Solo is an encoder, and we've done a lot of shows on it using cellular bonding when you don't have bandwidth, but it's also a damn good encoder. For $9.95, it does a great video quality. So what we recommend a lot of people do is you could take your Zoom, which could be on your laptop or whatever have you, you take your HDMI out of your laptop, put it into your Solo, and now your Solo encoder via your Wi-Fi or your hardwired internet, whatever you have in your house or your home or your business, can now go up to Facebook or YouTube or whatever your CDN is. So a very cool solution. We love the LiveView Solo. Once again, when this whole thing is over, you can put on your cellular modem so you can go out there cellular bonded and, you know, take it from the road or wherever you are, but it's also a very good encoder.
Lastly, we want to take a look at some workflows that Zoom can be used in. For example, a lot of people are now using Zoom in education, especially when it comes to remote learning. On a recent show, Gary took a look at integrating some of the gear we sell with Zoom to create a better virtual learning experience. Let's take a look at that clip.
We're going to go into all the charts that you're going to see that my production team did a great job setting up, say, Zoom. But you could substitute Zoom for Google Meet, for Microsoft Teams, for Cisco WebEx, for whatever tool your district's using. All these great tips apply. So here's the first one we want to show you is you're teaching from a classroom to students at home. Now, yes, the webcam works, but if you can get a PTZ camera, and that's what we have set up over here, that's the PTZ camera that I'm on, you can really get a more engaging kind of classroom feel to what you're doing. So if you give us a second, Adam's going to take down the green screen, the virtual set now, so we can walk you through a little demo about what we're talking about for being at home. So let's take the green screen down cool, so the virtual sets are down. So let's say this is the webcam shot that I'm doing all day, and it's kind of, you know, not so great, kind of boring. Now I'm going to say, let's say you use the PTZ camera instead of the webcam. So let's cut to this camera, where it's up here right now. And you can see this a little bit different view. There's a little more of me. I'm not just a head. I'm a little more animated for the camera. But let me show you the real cool part of what you could do with this. And we're going to have this camera go to a different preset. And we're going to say, let's say I'm going to my chalkboard or my whiteboard. And let's do that. Oh, what do you know? We just happen to have a whiteboard right here that we're going to use for this demonstration. So now I'm here, and I'm just like I'm a normal teacher. So I'm going to say 4 times 4 equals 16. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We can go over anything we want to be teaching, but it's more like the environment that you're used to doing as a teacher with your board, and then you can always come back if you have the preset when you want to go here, and now boom, I'm back talking this way. Or if I even want to go back to my my Chromebook view, I could have that view that's more the talking head view. So we like doing that. We think it's a cool thing that you can do. And once again, let's go back to I'm going to clear this out. We're going to go back to the virtual set, and we'll be back in a quick second. All right, and we're back. So that was an example. So let's look at this one. Here I said if you're in a classroom, you could actually have 3 views. You could have the view of you. You could have the view with a whiteboard or a smartboard. And then another wider view of another smartboard. And maybe that third smartboard isn't a smartboard, it's a human anatomy if you're a high school teacher teaching, biology, or perhaps it's your lab stuff. Or if you're doing educational stuff that's mathematics, it could be some manipulatives or a board that's on there that's pre-done with words or language words if you were a teacher going over early reading and things like that. So here's the example of this classroom where I'm teaching in my classroom, but I'm teaching to remote kids and how a PTZ camera can give me a more engaging lesson. And I can always bring up what I have on my own screen to share with the kids, and I can also put that on my smartboard if I'm a school that has smartboards that work on my Chromebook. Next, let's say you're in a classroom situation where you're going to have some kids in the class and some kids not. Well, here we're using the PTZ camera, and you can see I have those same 3 views, but I've added a 4th view now. Can we bring that up full screen for a second? Which is, the kids who are sitting, socially distanced in the classroom. But now I just want to say something here. We understand privacy, and as being on a board of ed, I'm especially sensitive to privacy. So while we're showing that camera can show kids, that might not be allowed in your school. If you're going to get a PTZ camera to teach in your district, make sure you understand your district's privacy rules with regards to the students being on the screen or not. I think it's great to be able to show the kids, especially if you're having a class that's based on classroom discussions where the Zoom kids are coming in, everyone's basically participating in the class as well. But a lot of schools have restrictions for students' privacy, and we respect that, and we get it, and we know it's a big deal. So don't do anything that's going to get you in trouble with your administrators or your community. Our next one is, let's say you're a teacher who has to teach from home. Maybe you've been exposed and you're quarantined from home, or maybe your district's saying you teach from home. Once again, I'm saying don't just do that same boring setup that's just the Zoom camera. With a PTZ camera, let's bring this up full screen, you can do what I was showing basically, where I can have this camera that's on me, and then I can have the other camera that's on me in front of my whiteboard or my manipulatives or my skeleton or whatever I want to be in front of. So it's just a way to bring it home and bring it to you. And then the last way is let's say you have to teach from home to students in a classroom at home. Well, that might happen. So maybe you're going to be at home, but now not only are you going to be Zooming to the kids at the Zoom, but maybe your district will have you Zooming to the smartboard that's in your front of your class. Now, I know this isn't ideal, but the truth of the matter is we see a lot of scenarios where a teacher could be forced to quarantine, or God forbid, you test positive, but you're asymptomatic, where we still want you teaching, still want you working with the kids, but you got to do it from your home. There's technology here that can help you do it.
Another place Zoom can be used is in the corporate world for board meetings. On a recent webinar, we took a look at taking a Board of Ed meeting and doing a hybrid mode with Zoom and in-person participants and streaming it. But this application can be used in any boardroom setting.
Some of our board members are present, others come in via Zoom. We then stream the meeting to YouTube. So how do we do this and share presentations, letting the board members discuss together while also sharing with the community? So this is a really great question because you're trying to achieve a lot all in one place. So you need a kind of an intelligent setup to get it going. So we've set up 2 different options for you, and we've actually based these off of the room that Gary's Board of Ed meets in. So if you want a simple solution, you'll need an operator and a box like the Pearl Mini. Now the camera we're recommending goes with this is the EPTZ Huddle Cam webcam. And Jen, if we could pop that up full screen. You're going to connect that webcam both to the main presenter's computer. So say it's the superintendent, you want that feed moving into Zoom on this computer on top. And you're also going to feed it into the Epiphan Pearl Mini as one of those 2 inputs like we discussed earlier with that picture-in-picture presentation. You'll also see that all of the members on the board have the Zoom call in front of them, and as need be, they might have PowerPoints as well. And just so everybody in the room can see, say I have remote people coming in on Zoom, I've got the smartboard behind me, and it's got the Zoom call with those remote participants, as well as if one person has a presentation, they can share that screen and everybody can see it. Say you don't have a smart board, this would work just as well with an HDMI splitter from the superintendent's computer right onto that TV screen. You'll see on the right side you have the operator, and he's working the Pearl Mini. So he's going to set up your presets to look the way they need to in the room. Maybe he's got a presentation on the bottom and the speaker on top. But if he's got a laptop watching that Zoom, and each person presenting is, when they're giving their presentation, they're going to share their screen, he can feed those into the Pearl Mini. And so now he's got the PTZ camera, which has a preset of the superintendent, or maybe it's moving around the room to show off all of the people present. And he's got the presentations on there, which he can feed right into the Pearl Mini and stream to the community. Well, the Zoom call is for the members of the Board of Ed that are present in the room at that time. Now we can also stream out and share with the community in a way that is engaging. And we're going to get into that later because that's really important. You want these things to be engaging. Say you have a little bit more resources, or say that you want something a little bit bigger. We've also developed a complex solution, and you'll see the cameras we're recommending are now PTZ cameras, and what they do is they get a 4K picture of the whole room, but I can also crop them to show off just one section of the room. So if the superintendent is speaking, I can pan in on them, or say the vice president and another member are speaking, I can get them as well. Now on the sides, we also have PTZ cameras on either side of the table, showing off each side of the room. So you're going to bring in multi-camera, say it's a bigger meeting, and for that you'll need a little bit more of a bigger switcher, which we'll get to in a minute. Now at the same time, everybody here has a laptop logged into Zoom, and you have some remote presenters over Zoom as well. The smartboard is signed in the same way, and so everybody's participating on that Zoom call, and if they need to share a presentation, they're just going to share their screen, and it'll pop up full screen on that Zoom. Meanwhile, all of the cameras are being brought out through HDMI or SDI, depending on your resources, as well as a soundboard. So what a lot of Board of Ed meetings do is they'll have the microphones mixed into a soundboard that then you can feed into a production system, while also pulling your Zoom call into that production system for the members that are not present in the room. And so you'll just need an operator to switch between those audio sources. Now in the back of the room, or maybe it's a closet in a close proximity, maybe it's in the next room, you have a remote operator working with a production system. The ones we've picked out here are the Wirecast Gear, which can bring in a lot of different sources and has a lot of different access to graphics and formatting. Then there's the Pearl Mini's older brother, the Pearl 2, which works almost the same way, but you can bring in more inputs and you have a little bit more flexibility. And then you have the TriCaster Mini 4K NDI, which is a very robust production system that will be able to handle all of these inputs. Now that operator's getting the PTZ camera, it's getting the PTZ cameras we have set up, the soundboard, and the operator also has a laptop with Zoom and PowerPoint. So all the presentations for the day are on that laptop too, and he can feed those into the production system so that if somebody isn't quite sharing their screen, or if it's not coming in quite right, then he can pop up the presentation and share that screen on his production system as well. So that operator is also a really important part of the puzzle here.
Lastly, Zoom is becoming a great tool for hosting a live event. While audiences and participants can't be there in person, Zoom can make them feel like they were really there for the event and actually took part. We actually created a Zoom bar mitzvah at the end of last year. So here's a clip of us talking about using Zoom to host that event.
Creating a remote live event, but it wasn't just any live event. We did a Zoom mitzvah. I want to get started, but before we show you a little video of what we did, I want to have Adam talk a little bit about what was really the secret sauce, because we also used NDI to make this whole thing possible.
Yes.
So talk about that NDI workflow if you could, Adam.
Well, what I did was I took the output from our TriCaster and brought it into Zoom via NDI virtual input. And again, no wires because of that. It was all done via
Our network.
Our network, yeah. And because of that, I was able to pick exactly what I wanted people to see, which in this case was the output, the program output from our TriCaster. So that way I had full control over what people saw in terms of that particular feed.
And then I had a job. Not only was I the uncle participating in the bar mitzvah, I was the Zoom remote producer. So I was in my office, which is another part of the building from where we do the show, and I actually took control of the Zoom. So what I had to do was I did the spotlight. I would mute people who were talking. And we did ours in a virtual set.
Right.
But you don't have to have a virtual set to do a Zoom mitzvah, a Zoom wedding, or another Zoom, life event. You could do it in a temple or a church.
It's just bringing those guests in that people are being careful about.
Correct. So you wouldn't have your virtual set, but you still set up your cameras, you still set up your audio so that people can monitor. Right. The only difference is you wouldn't be in front of a green screen, you'd be in whatever the facility was. But let's remember, a lot of these churches are allowed to have a service. What they're not allowed to do is have a congregation in there.
Yes.
So you could still bring in, if it was a wedding, the bride and groom, maybe the best man and the maid of honor, and the priest, the preacher who's ever doing it, and you could still bring that to the Zoom and have the Zoom be a part of it and allow those guests to participate. So we did it in a virtual set, but you could actually do it in a real house of worship. And the reason I'm saying that is because houses of worship, you can add this to what you're doing so that even if your states stay under lockdown for 3 or 4 months, or however however long this darn plague lasts, you can be able to do this. But I also think it's something that's going to be important for the future when we're past the world of COVID, because a lot of times we want grandma and grandpa from Arizona to come in, or we have a family who's now living overseas, what have you. Well, with Zoom and modern technology, we can bring them into an event. And using the technology we used, you could have used this technology for a room full of people and just brought 2 or 3 important guests in to be a part of it remotely. You can blend people who are here and people who are there together to make for special moments still. And I think we proved it.
Yeah, this is a tremendous opportunity, for people to finally get some of that connection that they've been missing.
I agree.
Through all of COVID. I know I've been missing it.
I agree completely.
And this has been helping.
Okay, so that was our last clip. And Gary, I'm going to flip it back over to you. Do you have any parting words for our audience?
Yeah. Tune in next week. We're going to be live next week at 3 p.m. Videoguys Live. Watch us on Facebook, watch us on YouTube, like us, spread the love, and all that good stuff on social media. Next week's show, real exciting. What we're going to be looking at is the hybrid world of the future of live events. Bars, restaurants, clubs, they've all been kind of shut down because of, occupancy rules and what's going on in the world. But when you're going to come back, we think a great approach is a hybrid approach. That is you're going to have limited people there, but you could be live streaming. And by live streaming your entertainment or your show, what's going on in your venue, you build your brand, you build awareness. When things open up, more people are going to come back. Plus, personally, I think that this hybrid way of live and at home streaming is here to stay, and it's not going away, and it's not something that's just going to be done on professional sports or New Year's Eve concerts or major concerts that are pay-per-view. We think it's something that anyone with a venue, anyone with a bar, anyone with a restaurant can take advantage of. So tune in next week for next week's show. We hope that today's show was informative. You learned a little bit more about Zooming. We've been doing a lot about Zoom and Teams and making it better than it is or it has to be. So today's clip show is based on that. So Oliver, I'm going to kick it over to you, and we're done. We're out, right?
We are all set, and everybody tune in next week for our regularly scheduled webinar.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this highlight from the Videoguys Live Webinar. If you like this video or you want to learn more, check out the full webinar in our description, or head on over to videoguys.com for more information.